Hi everyone, let's go over my bullish and bearish Elliott Wave scenarios on Bitcoin, starting with the medium time frame bullish scenario where we're looking for an impulsive structure to the upside in 5 waves, after which we then expect a 3-wave structure to the downside and continuation for higher prices to come. It's always quite difficult to know exactly where wave 3 ends, but that is why I have different 618 levels on my chart over here, pulled from the low to the high of 1 to the low of 2, where you can see all of these so far have been respected. The 1.618, a little bit of resistance, eventually pushing through. We can look for the 2.618 over here. Also, the 2.618 was respected with this wick moving above, ranging above, looking for the 3.618, which got respected as well. And now we are moving above the 3.618. So the 4.618 therefore becomes an interesting area, which is sitting at 38.5k, which is also at the golden target box over here between 38.5 and 39k, with very, very important resistance indeed. Now, if we look towards the downside, then for a wave 4, we are looking for a retracement inside this white box over here. As long as price keeps moving towards the upside, we're simply going to move the wave 4 fips to the upside as well, from the low to the high of then a potential wave 3, because eventually you want to see a retracement inside this area between the 0.236 and the 0.5, with the current high over here pulled from the low to the high. These fibs are sitting between 34.5k and 31.7k. Most commonly though, this target here, the 382 to the 05, is the area of interest for a wave 4, with the 382 sitting at 33k, and the invalidation for this scenario is hitting the golden pocket, the 618, currently sitting at 30.5k. Now in the bullish scenario on the 4-hour, we are still looking for more upside. So in this particular scenario, we're looking for this low to be the end of this horizontal range, looking then for a 1, 2 and continuation to the upside, and then eventually a bigger wave 3. This wave 2 did retrace to the 886. We've spoken about quite a lot. The 886 is a less common rare target for a wave 2, more common for a wave B or a wave X, but not impossible, of course, for a wave 2. And at the moment, as price keeps pumping, we can look for continuation to the upside. Also in relation to this bars pattern over here, where basically history doesn't repeat, but it can rhyme. And Santiago in Discord was the one that first came up with this bars pattern, where, as you can see, there's quite a nice amount of overlap in this range with this bars pattern. And again, the bars pattern is basically price action from the past copied and put on top of the current price action. What you can see here is that the pink candles are also moving towards the upside, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. But also here you can see there was a pump, there was a very deep retracement between the low here and the low here, also an 886 touch, but eventually price continued towards the upside and not came back. So it's not something that never happens, the 886 touch and continuation, but in general for a wave 2, it's simply a rare target, and that is probabilities in Elliott waves. Now if we look over here on the low time frame, we go to the 1 hour, then the bullish scenario is this one over here. So again, we have this 1-2 with the retracement to the 886. And then we have another wave 1 in a diagonal, followed by an ABC flat in a wave 2, for then continuation to the upside for higher prices to come. Where as long as price keeps pumping, we're just going to wait and see where a wave 3 is going to end, because we do eventually expect a wave 4 range. And once we get a bit of a bigger range, that is when we can really talk about targets. However, what I did mention is the resistance areas for price above at the moment, when price was still ranging over here. First of all, this blue box between 36.8 and 37k. Secondly, over here, this level 37.3k, 37.4k, and then finally that golden box again, 38.5 to 39k. And we're going to see what happens locally at each of these levels. Of course, over here, locally, the moment price starts ranging and then forming bearish CVD divergences, yeah, we might get a little bit of a move to the downside. Now you also have this white box over here as support resistance. Of course, resistance once, twice, 3 times, eventually pushing through. So once a target box is broken, after being respected nicely, it becomes a white box, because now it's a support resistance level for me. But for the bulls, if you range below resistance, maybe start showing some bullish CVD divergences, then eventually, we can expect continuation to the downside based on very local signs, which is always nice. Now, if we look at the bearish and then eventually bullish scenario, so this is a scenario where you're going to move to the downside but then still see continuation to the upside, we're looking at a flat scenario, and then a wave A, B, and eventually a wave C expanding flat, which is a 3, 3, and then you expect an impulse to the downside in 5 waves for wave C, where currently the common target for C is between the two 1.618s here, between 32.4k and 31.5k. And as you can see, price is now inside the common target area for wave B, pulled from the high to the low of wave A, which is between the 1.38 and the 1.236, which is between 36.8 and 36.4k. A less common target for the wave B is the 1.618 sitting here at 37.1k. Now what is interesting for this wave B, however, is a wave B has to be a 3-wave structure, and you can count this as then an ABC, with over here wave A, this is your wave B, and then you're looking for a 5-wave structure to the upside. But based on what we see here, I would still expect some ranging and at least taking this high one more time. Also, you can see the 1.618, which is pulled from this low to then the high of A to the low of B. And for a zigzag, in an ABC zigzag, the 1.618 is already a less common target, and now over here, as you can see, we are starting to close candles above the 1.618. So that lowers the probabilities for this particular scenario, but we are still over here inside the wave B target area, so it is something we do have to keep in mind, and we're going to keep an eye on local price action and local signs to see what has the highest probability, but at the moment that would be the bullish scenarios. If we then zoom out, look at the bearish scenario, then we're looking for a flat and then an A, B, and eventually a C to the downside. Most common target for C between the 1.618s, between 24.7k and 18.1k. And also here again, wave B, there you go, common target area, as you can see, was respected for a while, eventually price ranging to the upside, now closing candles, or potentially, because we're on the 12-hour, potentially closing candles above. The moment you start closing candles above the 1.618, a wave B becomes very unlikely, which of course then increases the probabilities for bullish continuation on the higher time frame. And inside this wave B, we are then of course also looking for a 3-wave structure to the upside. So here we're looking for an ABC, 5 waves in A, and then a leading diagonal, less common for A, or in general, a leading diagonal is rare. Wave B retracing to the 382, and then we have a wave 5 and eventually, a wave C, which is in 5 waves to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you really want to see the high of a wave 5 soon, but as you can see, it's impulsive on the lower time frames. So far, it doesn't really look like it's going to stop anytime soon. At least this high being broken once more has a high probability at the moment, based on the local price action, and the 1.618 is again usually a maximum target for a wave C, but we're now moving above this level with the 1.618 sitting at 36.4k. If we go to the lower time frames, this is absolutely brilliant. Yesterday, a couple of videos, I spoke about this level over here, right? The high of the gap, and when it is hit, very often it acts as resistance, and then you want to see price moving towards the upside. That is what we spoke about. Based on this move to the downside here, looked like a 3-waver. Probabilities were higher to move to the downside, at least to take this low over here. And I was looking for this high, the key level 35.114, the beginning of this 15-minute gap, as shown yesterday as well. Beautiful reaction for then a push towards the upside. Took a while to actually eventually move to the upside and take this high. We had of course crazy price action here, volatility last night, but eventually price moving towards the upside. Very, very nice. Where does it find resistance? At the next target box, right? That's how it goes. Very, very nice indeed. If we look at the CVD divergences, then also these bearish CVD divergences shared yesterday, they played out nicely because the target was this low. So the moment this low was taken, the bearish CVD divergences were neutralized, and from that moment there were also again neutral probabilities moving towards the upside, but you're at support, you're at this level that we mentioned yesterday, the beginning of the gap, always interesting, and we got that push towards the upside. Now if we then finally look at the probabilities of the different scenarios on the different time frames, then on the medium time frame, currently, the bullish scenario has higher probabilities to the upside. So continuation to the upside for eventually a wave 3. And of course, over here, an impulsive structure to the upside. Because also more locally, there's not really a sign yet of a wave 4. And what I mean with this is over here, if this would be, for example, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a problem because we have overlap between 1 and 4. That's not allowed. So then you have to think into in diagonals. But at the moment, this move is starting to become too long, or is too long. So that doesn't work. So then we're thinking about diagonals or impulses. And even if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 and this is your 5, you're still going to look for like a 1, 2, 3, 4 and eventually a 5. And we didn't yet see any wave 4 locally. So you're still expecting a range and you still expect this high to be taken. And as long as this high has a higher probability of being taken, we then observe the probabilities, because it can of course just keep pushing till eventually we're forming a wave 4. So at least one more high has the higher probability on the low time frame. Also, the bullish scenario has a higher probability moving towards the upside. No wave 4 yet locally. Price above the flat as well at the moment, which is the bearish and then bullish scenario. So price currently above the 1.618 that we see over here, which increases probabilities for continuation. The same is true for the bearish scenario, currently above the 1.618, increases probabilities for continuation. In general, the 38 to 42k region is very, very important resistance, which all starts with this golden target box over here. So that is definitely an area that I will keep my eye on. I hope this video was valuable and helpful to you. Please check out the most recent educational video I've made about the best trading indicator you can use in my opinion, which is the CVD. And for now, thanks for watching and subscribing, and I'd like to see you at the next one. Bye bye.